Hi, I'm Stephanie,
And I'm Justy,
and together we're losing it. We've each lost over 100 pounds with the help of diet, exercise, and breaking bad habits. And I also had weight loss surgery in 2020.
And I recently had skin removal surgery.
We're just sharing our journey and what we've learned throughout the process.
And we're not doctors, so if you have any medical questions, reach out to your doctor.
Welcome back, friends. We are here to close out the year, I guess, close out 2023. We're a little behind, and start up 2024. And we want to do that talking about goals, versus resolutions. And we kind of started off 2023 talking about, our goals versus resolutions because, we don't want to be the people that set these like resolutions and we say, here's what you know, I resolved to X, Y, and Z, and then like 2 weeks into it, we're like back on the train. So we're setting goals. We've talked about it before that Justy and I we're business women, and in our businesses we set goals. And hey, wouldn't it be nice if we did that for ourselves too? So I think we did pretty good with our 2023 goals. So I'm just going to talk Justy quickly about that, and you can just kind of hop in where you
Yep.
need to. I had to write it down because I'm old, so in order for me to remember.
Oh my
But
gosh, right. Turned 47 and I feel like I'm falling apart. But anyway.
exactly. Yes, we are. We're both falling apart currently. So we had a joint goal, and our joint goal was to um food prep or at least food plan weekly. And I know for me, I did really good with meal prepping most weeks. I would say of the year, I probably meal prepped 75% of the weeks. And if I didn't meal prep, then I had a plan. And I know you're heavier on the plan. And of course, I left you in 2023 because we were meal prepping together every week.
Right.
And then you would at least meal plan. And I think we stuck with that. We both agreed we fell off briefly, like in somewhere around like the third quarter, where it was just like we were losing track of it. But that's why we check in with ourselves and realize, like, hey, we haven't been doing what we're saying we're going to do. And we got back on it. So,
And I got super busy with at a certain part of the year opening up a bakery and stuff. And but I kind of just, instead of meal prepping and planning, I got like clean eats, which is like prepared meals for me. Like I just had to shift to that. And that worked out
mm.
to after about 2 weeks of me not planning and kind of grab ass eating and just making it up. I'm like, okay, bitch, you got to do something. You don't have
And
time
then
to
you
do.
feel like, yeah, and you feel like shit when you do that. So it's like
Yeah.
your body's telling you, like, I don't like this.
Right.
I don't
So I
like
did
it.
I did pivot pretty quickly to the clean eats, which worked out well for me. It's like $80 a week and I got 10 meals. So I was like,
That's
listen,
great.
that's great. And then and I know that if I ever get into a situation or like before I go on a trip or something, I don't like to do a lot of meal prep. So I'll just order those and I have them back up. So that's good.
Yeah. Okay. Our second joint goal was biweekly podcasts, which we've actually done more than that because we were well, hello, Sancho. We were
Yeah.
bi-weekly to start, and then we had like a bunch of topics to talk about, and we went to weekly, and then we went back to bi-weekly. And I know there's been a couple of times where we've skipped like 3 weeks or whatever, just life was lifing. But at
Right.
the end, gosh, I forget where we ended up with
33, 32.
34. I think 34 for the year.
Yeah. And we
Um,
got an email that said we have 5,000 downloads. So that's
I
great.
know, 5,000 downloads, which compared to other podcasts may not be a lot, but I'm impressed with our 5,000 downloads.
Well, when we
That's
first
insane.
did this, we were like, if we help a couple people or if our parents and their friends listen to it, like at least it's keeping us on track. So I think that's really fun. I know my cousin Carrie listens to it. I know my mom does. I know one of my managers at work do at least one of them. And some random friends on Facebook. So I don't know. I think it's fun.
Yeah. And then we'll get like messages from people like that we don't know, but we know through like the Instagram community or whatever, that will just be like, oh my God, I love such and such episode, or this one really helped me. And it's just like, because we don't get paid for this. Like we just
Right.
do it, right? Like we're not benefiting in any sense from this except for ourselves. and to keep ourselves in line. So to hear that somebody else benefits from it, it's like, okay, it makes it worthwhile because we do struggle sometimes getting our schedules to meet up. And, do you, especially when we bring guests on or if we have two guests on, it's like trying to coordinate all these schedules, it's tough. So the fact that we ended up with, I think it was 34 for the year, I'm pretty impressed with that. And then 5,000 downloads, that's pretty impressive too. So we're
Yeah.
going to keep doing it. We're going to keep doing what we do.
Yep.
We had set a weight goal for ourselves for the year. Mine was 165. Justy's was 180. With the help of Manjaro, I got down below 165, and then I came off of it because I was continuing to lose and I didn't want to keep losing. I gave myself a 10-pound kind of flux, and I was like, if I get red flag comes up when I'm beyond the 10 pounds. Don't ask me how, but I've been holding strong at literally exactly 10 pounds. So I've been I just dropped my pen. I've been 175 for the last couple of months, even down to coming off of having the flu over the holidays, which probably saved me. I was 173 the last that I weighed in. So I'm like, oh, look at me losing weight over Christmas. But thank you, flu.
Yeah.
And so I'm
And
not at
my
my 165, but I'm within the 10 pounds, so I'm good with that.
my goal was 180. In July, right after my cruise, which is crazy, my lowest was 183. And I was like, I feel really great at this weight. Like I can't imagine like losing more than that. So I'm really happy with staying in the 180. So I didn't hit 180, but I like to be between 180 and 190. Trust me, like a lot of women, I can fluctuate 7 pounds sometimes in just a couple of days. And so that's why
Hmm.
I like to leave that. Right now I'm 185 ish, or sorry, 195 ish. So I'm about 5 pounds heavier than I want to be. Um, but it is what it is.
But we also know that both of us haven't been active. We've just been
Yeah.
down for the count,
Mhm.
between sicknesses and hospital and back pain for you and everything else. Like we've just not been active. So the fact that we're still where we are without doing any activity, that just goes to show it is what you put in your
Right.
mouth. It
And
is not necessarily going to the gym.
I have not been active for about 2 months because of my gym closed. And then I got sick 2 different times. I had some cysts erupt. Now I have this back thing going on, whatever. But I have been eating more sugar than normal too. So
Yeah.
I have been not as diligent. Like, I don't know. I just been on this sugar thing lately where it's like I just want sugar. And so I'm really trying to reel that back. I started like around Christmas, and then Steady Eddie came and he wanted chocolate chip cookies, so I made those. But I made him take all of them with him, and then of course he's so cute, he left me two. But yeah, so I'm proud of myself, but I also know that I could have been tighter. But everybody has
It's
it's
not,
like
yeah.
I go through seasons, and the summer and spring for me is just a very much easier to stay on track. I think the sunshine makes me happy. Like, I don't know, it's just different.
Yeah, and it's not worth like beating yourself up over. It's like we went into the season with a plan.
Mhm.
I did bake cookies because I know what we talked about it before that it was like, do I bake the cookies? Do I not bake the cookies? That was weird. I just lost my light. Um, and so I baked the cookies, and ironically enough, I couldn't taste them. So they were
Oh,
fine the first couple of days. And then as I got more and more sick and I couldn't taste, I'm like, I can't even taste these cookies. So
right.
it was kind of like, well, there's no point in eating them anymore. But I even still, when I could taste them, I would just have like one or two.
Mhm.
And it came to a point eventually where we didn't even normally I would never throw cookies away. But they sat for so long, like nobody was really like overdoing it. Nobody in the house that we ended
Mhm.
up throwing some away because they just went stale. So
Yeah.
yeah, but I'm with you. Yeah, it's always tougher, but we went in with a plan. And I feel like you got to give yourself some grace.
Yeah.
And we're
The 5 pounds for me is way better than the 20.
yeah, exactly, no shit, right?
Uh-huh.
Um, and for us now, it's like, it's when you're in maintenance, it's tough because you're just so used to always trying to lose, lose, lose. And then now, we're not trying to lose, lose, lose. Well, lose a little, but it's more or so just like how do I stay where I'm at? So
Right.
And then with that, we had activity goals. Mine was 12 5Ks for the year. And I had big plans for posting like a reel of all of my races for the year, but I've had like absolutely zero energy ever since getting sick. I was off the entire time from Christmas to after New Year's, and I didn't even have the energy to put together a darn reel of that. I still kind of want to do it though, because I'm impressed with myself. I think I ended up with 15 races for the year. And
Nice.
then you had your goal of body pump coach, which I'll let you talk about.
Yeah, so I passed my initial training in November, actually my birthday weekend. I went to Charleston, and which was pretty awesome because I literally had the flu the week before. And so now I just have to submit my final video, and I have until February 19th. But I'm doing it at my gym, and my gym's closed until supposedly the 8th. So next week, I'll have about a month or so to get it together and get that video submitted. I feel confident I'm gonna be fine because I did really good in my class, and I have been listening and trying to do as much as I can, but my back has been really fucked up. So
Right. Yeah.
but yeah,
And that's
I'm on.
the worst because you need your back no matter what you're doing. Even if it was a lunge track, you still need your back for it.
So, I mean, but I did pass the initial training, which is the hardest one. The video, I just submit it. If I don't pass it, I have 2 weeks to submit another one. I got 2 weeks to submit another one. So it's like, I know I'll do pretty good on that. So I feel confident as long as I can get the space available, and I need like 5 people in my class, which I'll just tell my managers they have to and pull rank on that one. So
Right.
yeah, so I feel good about that.
Okay. And then our last goal was our mindset goals, which mine was monthly therapy. Yours was setting boundaries. Honestly, this is probably the one that I did the least of. I was doing monthly therapy. I fired several therapists. And then I did work with a mindset coach for a while, and then I did some family therapy. But I haven't gone back to working like one-on-one with somebody. And we talked about this before too. It's kind of like, I don't know. I don't know if it's me putting it on myself that I need this more than I think I do. Cause like I could just talk to Justy.
And I just said earlier too, because I started counseling like I guess around November. I don't know, maybe I was having like a in my feelings because I'm turning 47 and like I'm alone, whatever. And so I was like, well, what is wrong with me? Like, I'm a professional woman, I'm not bad looking, like I'm funny, and I still can't seem to find a connection with people. And so I was like, well, maybe there's just something wrong with me. So I went to counseling like 3 times, and she really didn't give me much feedback. Like I would talk about, this or that. And she's like, yeah, that seems right. And I'm like, all right, so maybe I don't need this. And I did the same thing. I was like, well, maybe I just talk to Jeff once a week. And she can basically tell me the same thing. I'm going to save myself $50. So yeah.
Sorry, I'm just I had to put that light back on. It was driving me bonkers that I was sitting in the dark. It
So
wasn't
that was
plugged in.
counseling. And then mine was setting boundaries, and it was more like when I get super overwhelmed at work, or if I get into a relationship, I tend to let go of my plan, my goals, my kind of routine. And so I've been pretty easy this year because Steady Eddie, who's still hanging in, he's back. He lives in Florida, so I don't really have to set boundaries, only when he's here, and he's super supportive of my goals. So that's
Right.
great. And then with work, this last month and a half has been really rough. I've lost some managers. I've just had a lot of random weird shit happen that I've had to handle, literally working sometimes from 3 a.m. until 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock at night. And so I have allowed work a little bit. Maybe that's why I'm fucking exhausted.
Yeah, right.
So, but I it was just about a month of that. So I think of the 12 months, I let 1 month get away from me. I feel good. It was the holidays. It's a bakery. People want
And
to
that's what I was about to say too. This time of year, I mean, if it's to be expected, it's then.
Right. Yeah. So I feel good.
Recognizing it, you're recognizing that you feel like your boundaries have been stretched some, so you can reel it back in.
Yeah. Yep. For sure. And I have pretty good, I've leveled out so far. So, So yeah, I feel good about that. So yeah, I feel good about 2023.
I do too. That's probably the most that I've ever paid attention to and really like tried to stay true to any type of a goal.
The first time I didn't fuck it by like the middle of February.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Because I think we lost sight of some of it a handful of times, but I think it's like as soon as you lose sight of it and you remind yourself, and we didn't set any goals that were like, excuse me, like crazy, like hard to attain or like, I mean, we didn't necessarily reach like the weight goal thing. It's like we're not exactly where we said we wanted to be, but
It kept us in that right track.
exactly. And also, like that's just it's just a number we made up for ourselves.
Right.
There's
Yeah.
nothing, there's no doctor that told us this is where we need to be. I just went to the doctor today. Um, and she was just like, it was an initial appointment, but she was just like blown away. She's like, you've done really good since your surgery because they can see everything in my file because it's the same hospital system. And she was just like, you've done great. She's like, you look great. They were like, do you want to take a new picture? They're like, you should see this picture. Come over and look. And they brought me over to the computer and it was a picture from before my surgery. And I was like, yeah, I think we're due for a new picture. So they took a new picture of me. I was just like, holy crap. And it was kind of like they were just really proud of me and they don't even know me. It's the first time I went there, but she's like, your blood pressure is great. She's like, so you don't have any like issues? I'm like, no. They're like, do you have suffer from like any depression since losing weight? I was like, no. It's the opposite. Like,
I
no, none of that. She's like, that's great. This is all great. Like they were just super impressed. So I was like impressed that they were impressed. So it was
yeah,
nice.
I had the same experience. All my blood work came back great. I've had some issues, but thyroid got tested. That was great. I'm going through menopause, and so I've got to get my hormones tested. He thinks I'm pretty low on estrogen, so that's part of being our age. But other than that, he was like, "You're doing everything right." He's like, "You are eating healthy, you are exercising, you are taking care of yourself, you're getting your yearly visits, you are, doing everything right." And he's like, "The rest is really just genetics." He's like, "There's
Right.
not much to do." Like,
Yeah.
the rest is genetics. So he's like, that plays a really big part in it, but and I feel good about that.
Yeah. Yeah. So I feel like we're in a good place for 23. So then like looking forward to 24. I know we've given some thought to it and you and I discussed a little bit beforehand before getting on here, but I think we're gonna kind of like officially like I've got my like notepad, my pen and paper, and I'm gonna like officially write down what it is that we want to do. And we'll put it, I think we'll do the same again where we'll put some graphics together and something, that we can post to like hold ourselves accountable or whatever. But for the first time in our adult and child life, we're not
Uh-huh.
trying to lose weight.
Yeah.
We're trying to maintain,
Trying to maintain
so yeah. So,
like five. I'm gonna lose like 5 pounds, but that's nothing at this point. So I want to stay between 180 and 190. That's my
and I
weight goal.
think, yeah, and I think while we're not trying to actually lose a bunch of weight, like 5 pounds, 10 pounds, whatever, I think that remains a goal for us. Just we don't lose sight of it, and that's just to maintain. And so I'm just going to write that. So my number one is just to maintain where I'm at. So
Mhm.
within 10 pounds of 165 for me, because 165 is my goal, and I want to stay within that. It's red
Yeah.
flags when I get past that for me.
Right.
Um, so same for you, I guess.
Yeah.
What?
I would between 180 and 190. I'm 195 now, and I just feel a little bit like chubby. Like, I don't know. I just
Mhm.
don't feel as comfortable in my pants and stuff. So 190 and below, that's good. I feel good there.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So that is that. One of the other things, so as far as an activity goal, because I think it's important for me at least to always have some kind of activity goal. And with mine being the 12 races last year, I have one this weekend coming up. It's supposed to snow. So I'm not sure if this is going down right. It's supposed to snow a decent amount. So Saturday night into Sunday, and the race is Sunday, but it's not until noon on Sunday. So we're gonna kind of like feel it out and see. But I may be very slow jogging, walking, or not doing it at all, depending what the weather looks like, if they even have it, depending on the weather. But I'm not going to set it to be a number of races this year. I had seen, and I shared with Justy earlier, this cool little graphic I saw posted on like um, a running, like Instagram page where it was a 2024 ways to run the year in 2024. And it gave some suggestions to run like 2024 miles, which is it's not happening. Or 2024 kilometers, which probably also is not happening. It would be amazing if I got that because that's 1,265 miles. That's a lot of miles for the year. Um, and then the one that looked like it would work the best for me was 20.24 miles a month, or Justy suggested 24 miles for the month, like for the year 2024. I think I like 24, so I think I'm gonna go with that. I like
Yay.
that 24 miles a month. And I
Yeah.
do have, I'm still gonna attempt to do like a race every month, but it's not gonna be like my goal, but I'll still try to do a race every month. I know in May we're signed up, the same group of people I did before, we're signed up for Ragnar, and I've got a pretty hard 3 legs for that. So that'll help contribute to my 24 miles a month for sure. But that's going to be my goal is 24 miles a month for
And
my
I
activity.
now that we're talking about it, I think I can do that as a goal too. Not necessarily running, but walking. Because I don't do a lot of walking anymore. I do lifting weights. I do body pump. I do yoga. I run around at work, but Sancho loves to go for a mile walk at night. And so I think me walking him every night for a mile, give or take a few because of weather here and there, I think I can at least do 24 miles walking, like
Yeah.
extra,
Yeah.
like, yeah.
Like an intentional walk.
Yeah, intentional 24 miles a month. I think I can do that for sure. And that's basically walking him, 6 days a week, and he deserves a little mile walk with mama. And I think about it at night, like I think, oh, well, it gets dark at 6 o'clock now, but I think, man, like we should just go for a quick walk. And me having a goal will give me a reason to actually do it instead of just think
Right.
about it. I
Right.
think I can, because yeah, I think that's a good one.
Yeah, I agree.
Because I've got the weightlifting down, and I need that little bit of, listen to a podcast. It's what's a mile, like 18 minutes or something if I'm walking
Right.
slowly. Oh yeah.
Right. Okay. So we've got an activity goal. We have our weight maintenance goal. Something else that I thought of while Justy and I were talking earlier is some type of um God, my brain, self-care, like some type of a self-care goal. And I don't know what that looks like because it just kind of came to me when we were talking earlier, but I feel like we kind of let that part slip some, just because we're so busy with life. Life is lifing and whatnot. And not we did our podcast before on self-love versus self-care, but I'm talking like a self-care, just like a nice thing that you do for yourself, whether it be like throw a face mask on or just something like just different that you do for yourself. So, but I don't know like how we can put that, like how do we quantify that?
Yeah, I think maybe just like one thing
Like
every one,
a weekly
or
self-care thing?
maybe even like bi-weekly, if when we do our podcast, if we just talk about the one thing we did between the
Oh,
last one.
that's a really good idea.
We could do,
Yeah.
oh, I got a massage last week, or what have you. I think so that would be like two self-care, intentional self-cares. And it's beyond what we normally do. Like I normally you know, get massages every month. I normally get my nails done. I normally, but just something extra. Like for me, I would even say like this year I took myself to a concert. I took myself on a date. I went to a concert. I went out to dinner. I had a great time by myself. Met some fun people. To me, that was self-care. So yeah, I think if we just in between our podcast recordings, make it intentional to do something.
Yeah, and I think that would be really nice to kind of kick off our podcast with like what our self-care thing was too.
Yeah.
Yeah, it gives
Okay.
people ideas. And I'll tell you, like honestly, I've not been, and I'm feeling like I'm getting to a place where I could probably get my nails done again because they're looking a lot healthier. But I've been kind of like painting them on my own. But like recently, it's just been between being sick and having the kids here and the holidays and all the stuff. Like my feet need a pedicure. Like,
Yeah.
and I just haven't done it
Yeah.
myself or gone anywhere. And I'm like, come on, you're better than this. Like, I
They're
don't
rough.
ever let myself slip like that.
Yeah. Yeah. Me too.
So,
My feet are rough.
yep, yep.
I I have not gotten a pedicure or manicure since before we went to DC, and I don't remember when that was
Beginning of November.
because I go out like every 2 weeks.
Right.
But I have another goal of being more mindful about my money. So
Right. Well, yeah. So, all right. So we're gonna do a bi-weekly self-care thing. And then you had mentioned, I'll let you talk a little bit about the financial goal,
mhm.
since you had mentioned that one to me.
Yeah, and so I guess I don't really know what my goal, maybe we can talk through it, will be, but I just spend money. I don't really think about it because I make decent money, and I used to not know how I was going to feed my children. And
Right.
I feel very blessed, but I also feel like I need to be a little more mindful about my spending. And because I'll just be like, oh, I want this purse, $500, dink. Oh, let me book this trip to Africa, dink. Oh, and it's just like, I don't have money problems, but I also feel like I could be just more meaningful with it, I
More
guess. Not
responsible. Yeah.
granted like I do. And I guess, but I also am having another skin removal surgery in May that's, $12,000. And so I I just want to I don't want to take that from my savings. I want to have that. I just want to be a little more mindful. And so I don't really know what the goal could be. But maybe it's just like set a budget of $300 a month of just play money and stay
Right.
within that, because I could literally, some months I could like maybe stay within that 300, but sometimes I spend that a week.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so I think for me, I think 300 is good. And that's, outside of my normal, like, you know, bills and stuff. It's like, okay, if I want to go to a concert this week and if the tickets are 100, then I only have 200 for the next month. I think I need to be a little more, just more mindful.
Right. 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 Yeah. So setting a budget, and I think I need to set a budget too, but I probably need more time than we have to like talk through here to figure out, because I've never really budgeted either.
Yeah.
Which is
Yeah.
not, I mean, it's not good. And it's so funny because Lord knows we set enough budgets for, our jobs and careers and whatnot. And then when it comes to us, we're just like, yeah, I really want that. I'm gonna go get it. Or, you
Right.
know. So I think I need to be more intentional, but I think what I'm just gonna put for both of us is to set a budget, a realistic, because also, I mean, realistic in the sense that like saying like you have $50 to spend a month to do,
Right.
that's not realistic. We're not gonna stick to that. Like,
Well, and I think if I just, because I'm a very generous person too with my money. Like, I don't mind paying for dinner. I don't mind paying for my kids' stuff. I don't mind, you know, covering this or covering that or helping someone out. And I feel like I need to be more mindful in that, because
mhm,
I, there's certain friends or people that I'm around that I just feel like I pay because I make more. But
right.
I don't necessarily think that that is right, because it's like, why am I spending bucks on dinner when you guys all work too? You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I'm the same way too. And it's not necessarily in that sense, but like when we just went away this weekend for New Year's, and it was my parents and Isaac's mom and a friend of ours came, and it's like we ran to the grocery store to get stuff, and everyone's like, "Oh, let me give you money," and I'm like, "No, don't worry about it. It's just like we're just getting
Right.
some groceries," and I always do that. I'll always, just because
I
I just feel like I don't want to take money from people.
like,
Like I
oh,
invited you guys to come on this trip. Like I'm like, don't worry about it.
yeah,
It's just like some
yeah,
groceries. But I always say no to people trying to give me money, which
right,
is funny because there's plenty of people that have their hand out all the time. But I'm the
right,
same way. I'm the same
yeah.
way. I'm
So
like, well,
yeah, so just all around being more mindful of my spending. So I think we do need more time on that, but it's definitely something at the end of the year I at least want to have made up my money from my surgery.
Mhm.
So, $12,000, that's $1,000 a month, that I need to save to put back into that. So,
And then I have one more thing, like a personal, I'm just going to write a personal, oh gosh, I can't even spell personal goal. And I don't know if you've got something along these lines too, but I've come to a point now after having my surgery and like teaching a lot of cooking classes and whatnot that I've been building a library of recipes and I've written them all out in a really good like recipe format and I've done them in Publisher. Um, and I think it's time for me to start putting together to publish a cookbook.
yeah.
And for me, that goal of getting this cookbook published, because I know I've got well over like 300 recipes because I do like typically three at a time. Each time I teach a class, I do a class anytime from 1 to 4 times a month. Um, that's a lot of recipes over the last 3 years. So I want to really just, I don't even know the first place to start, but my goal this year is going to be to attempt to have it published by the end of the year, but if not published, at least to a place where I'm really close to it.
Yeah.
And I want to take the money that I make from selling that book, that cookbook, and put it towards skin removal. Because I feel
Yeah.
like I'm in a place now where I've been maintaining for a while, like I owe it to myself. So my personal goal is to get published my cookbook. And I've
Hmm.
talked with actually Kim, who was Kim Terpelli that was on before her. She and I talked about some ideas that I had for it. She gave me some ideas, and I feel like I've got some, I don't want to air all my details out here, but I've got some really good ideas for something that would set it off and make it different from other cookbooks. So,
Yeah. And
excuse me.
obviously, I'll help you with any of that. And I want to become a personal trainer. So just get certified for personal training. Um, I want to gain the knowledge myself, because you're told a lot of different things, but I just want to actually know. And I loved my personal trainers. I just love when I've worked with them. And I know eventually I'm going to want to help people on a bigger level other than just this podcast and our Instagram. Um,
Hmm.
when I kind of like semi-retire or whatever. So I would like to start getting myself set up for that. So by the end of the year, I want to be certified as a personal trainer. And I'll probably use my surgery time down because I'll have about a month or so for like the studying part of it and kind of organizing that. So yeah, that's kind of my more, I don't want to say career because I have a career, but more of a,
Right. Just
because
a
that's
next step,
yeah.
another thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, I think that's perfect. So we actually gave ourselves one extra goal beyond what we had last year, but also one of them is just to maintain our weight. So while it's a goal, it's just something to be mindful of. So we
Hmm.
have our maintaining our weight within 10 pounds of your 180 to 190. I'm 165 to 170. Also, I am much shorter than Justy. So I think our it's same clothing size basically that we wear. It's just our height's a little different. So yeah, we have our weight maintenance goal, our activity. So I'm going to run 24 miles a month and Justy's going to intentionally walk 24 miles a month. Our self-care is a biweekly intentional self-care that we will then talk about on our podcast. And now that the podcast, we've been doing it at least biweekly, that doesn't need to be a goal anymore. Like we've done that for a year. So it's just something we do now. Like I can't
Yeah.
imagine that we'll be stopping it anytime soon. Then we got financial. We're going to set budgets for ourselves, but we just need a little more time than this actual podcast here to come up with exactly where we want to go with it because I want to think that through and be smart about it. And then our personal goal is for me to get my cookbook at least I would love to have it published by the end of the year, but I also am realistic in knowing that it might take more than that with some of the ideas I have. And then Justy is her personal goals to become a certified trainer by the end of the year.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah. I'm
that's
excited.
gonna
I'm
be good.
excited about your cookbook. I'd love to hear your ideas because or
I'll
what you
share with you.
we haven't really talked about it, but I would like to because I think that's exciting.
Yeah.
We both have been in the restaurant business for our whole lives. So
Exactly. No
we
shit.
talk about that.
Yep. Yep.
But
But there's a lot, and I try not to be stingy because people will be like, "Oh, I need the recipe for that." And there's part of me that's like, buy my cookbook when it comes out. But then there's part of me that's like, let me just give this person this recipe. So
right.
I send people the recipes when they ask for them. But once the cookbook comes out, and it's hard, and that's the hard thing for us is just like when people are like, let me give you some money towards that, and you're like, no, it's okay. But
Right.
it's like I want to have this skin chopped off, so I'm gonna need this money
You're right.
from this cookbook.
It was life changing for me, the skin removal for sure. And I can't wait for round two. But it's kind of the same thing, like for me, because Steady Eddie was like, you should make a cookbook. Like you guys, he hasn't had your cooking, but he's like, you have so much knowledge and this and that and whatever. And I'm like, yeah, but like, I don't need a cookbook. I just
Right,
cook. You know
right.
what
I
I
just cook.
So it's hard for me to like spot but I've seen through you with people just, oh, what's that recipe? What's that recipe? What's the recipe? And I'm like, I just never used recipes.
I
I
know, same.
yeah, what I want to make and then I just make it.
So
And
then
but
when I have to
Alex,
write the recipes, it's like it's time consuming because I have to like figure out, was this 3/4 of a cup? Was it 1 cup? Is it 2 tablespoons? Like
I'm
I
like,
have to really like figure it out and make it work because I can't
uh,
just write down what I think it is and then it works or it doesn't work. Like
right.
you got to
And
really work through it.
that's the mind numbing part of it because like I have bakeries now and I don't like measuring things, but you kind of have to when you bake.
Right.
So
Well,
um
I think they've proven you otherwise in
right.
some of their recipes.
This is true. I'm like, how in the hell did stuff turn out? But anyway, so I think that's a really good idea because people do want it and people do need it. And I
Yeah.
think it's hard for us because we don't need cookbooks. Like I think I own one cookbook and I never even really opened it. Just someone bought it
Right.
for me, Mexican food, and it was like this fancy book, which was a great gift. It's beautiful, but I've never used it. But there are people out there who use recipes all the
Mm-hmm.
time. I
Mm-hmm.
just Yeah,
It's just
we've
not
all
us.
been around restaurant people, so we just all cook.
And if anything, I'll look because if I'm like, I wonder how you make that. Like I'll look at a recipe just to see like what ingredients they use, but I don't like follow a recipe.
Right, yeah. I kind of look on Pinterest at two or three different ones and I just do my own thing.
Right. Unless I'm baking. Like if I'm making cookies or something, I will follow a recipe.
Yeah.
But
So I think that's
otherwise,
that's a great idea. I would like I think the next after I get certified is I'd like to do like online coaching or something, just very few people just to start seeing if that's something that I enjoy.
Mhm.
But that's kind of down. I think that's probably 2025 goals. Um, just to get certified this year with my surgery and stuff. I think that's all I can do, honestly.
Yeah. Yeah, probably so. All right. Well, I think we got it. Um,
What's
and
next?
hopefully, you stop it. Hopefully that's helpful for people in knowing this is no different than how we wrote our goals last year. We just didn't do it like on a podcast. Last year when we wrote our goals, it's kind of like, well, we had a weight in mind, we had some activities in mind, and then we just put it down on paper and made sense. So,
Yeah,
um, and hopefully that's helpful as we walk through it, or if you're stuck on maybe some things that you want to do for the year, maybe steal some of our goals. If there's something on here that sounds good to you, like put it to use for yourself or tweak one of ours and make it your own. Um,
I'm gonna have to
but
come up with a tracker or something that for this 24 miles though, because I was thinking like my watch and stuff kind of, well, I guess I can figure it out just to keep track because I'm not good at tracking things. And I know me, I'll get towards the end of the month and I'll be like, shit, I gotta walk 10 miles the next day.
yeah, I mean, maybe if you just have like something you can mark off, like if you, because yours is pretty simple. It's like walking Sancho. did you walk them today or not?
Right. And 1 mile is literally like our routine. It's like 1.2 miles. So,
Mhm.
I think, and I have a calendar right by my door. I just put one there. So I'll just mark that off and
Right.
kind of,
Yeah. It doesn't have to be like so, precise. It's like, did you do it 6 days a week? If you
right.
did, then I think that's what the number comes out to. If you walk them 6 days a week, or if you're away or
Yeah.
something and you can't get your mile in with him, you just do a mile somewhere else.
Yeah. Yeah. And I don't have a ton of trips planned this year, which is different for me just
Mhm.
because of surgery. So yeah, I think it'll be a good year. It's starting off a little rough. I lost my debit card, hurt my back, I've been sick, but we're gonna get there.
Yeah, we'll get there eventually. I will get some activity in. What this weekend, I hope I can. This weather isn't so bad that I can't do anything for the because I have to get. I was like, okay, once I do that race, then it'll get me like some kind of motivation so I do something with myself because I've been like a bump on a log lately. So,
Yeah. And I
um,
think it's the season for that a lot of people feel that way. I was talking to Miss Linda and she said the same thing. She's just like, I've been so tired, I've had no energy. I say it's a lack of vitamin D and sunshine, but
right, yeah,
um, because I never felt this way in Florida when I had like sunshine all year round. So
yeah, right,
but this is like the couple years every time this time of year I feel kind of
yeah.
um but what we don't really know what's next.
Well, no, we don't. I was about to say that. And to answer your question, I have no idea because we haven't really gotten. We're lucky we got here. So,
Yeah, so we don't know what's next, but we've got a couple of weeks to kind of figure it out and think about it. I have a few ideas that we'll talk about, but it's going to be a surprise.
yeah, stay tuned.
Yeah. I would love it for people, on our Instagram or on YouTube, if they're watching on YouTube, to kind of let us know what their goals are. I think it's fun. I do have a bet with one of my managers for just the month of January, like who loses the most weight in January. We got $100 on it. So
All right.
yeah, we weigh almost the same exact amount. So, it's a fair game. Um,
I think I know who you're talking about then.
yeah, you probably do. So even though I'm not supposed to bet with my employees, hopefully the HR person doesn't listen.
Yeah, right.
Did I say manager? I meant neighbor.
A friend. Yeah.
Anyway, but all right, well, that was fun.
Yeah.
I feel a little twinge of motivation in me.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah. Because
already
now now the ink is on the paper. So,
yeah, I already got a good start because Sanch and I did go for a walk yesterday. We're not going
all
for
right.
one, but try to get one in tomorrow. And then just kind of go from there.
Yep. Sounds good.
All right. Talk to you next time.
All right. Bye, guys.
Bye.